Okay, welcome back to the Drop a Jew with Malaka podcast. Today I have a very special guest. As always, all my guests are special, but this is an episode you don't want to miss. Today I have special guest Alisha Kapani, who is a mind body mentor. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful to be here.
Yes, it's my pleasure. And I feel like a broken record sometimes, but we had a nice conversation prior to the show, and I felt like this girl, this woman, she is it. Like she is
Oh,
the things we were talking about, we were vibing pretty good. So I know the work that you're doing is real.
yeah. Thank you. That's
Sure,
sweet.
for sure. So let's get right into it. Tell
Okay.
tell us who you are and what a mind body mentor is.
Yeah. A mind body mentor. Honestly, you've probably never heard the term before because I kind of made it up. Like, it's just because I use mind body medicine to help my clients heal. And the reason I use the word mentor is because I help people heal through my own experience. Through because
Mhm.
like I had depression for a really long time, like 5 years, and other physical illness.
Okay.
And so that's how I help people heal. It's like through my own experience, like what worked for me, what didn't work for me, but not really like, oh, I did this thing, so you should do it too. It's more like I have found like for this emotion, this is the mind body tool that's helped me the most. And when I feel this emotion, this is the tool that helps me the most, like that kind of thing. But
Right.
it's more so like pointing people back to their own body's wisdom so that
Mm,
they know what their body needs, based on what feels light, what feels heavy. Because
right.
most people don't make decisions at all from their body's wisdom. It's just their mind or they're analyzing or it's based on their beliefs and their programs that they make decisions. But what
Right.
if you taught all these really limiting things? How are you supposed to make a loving, nurturing decision for your body if you're taught all these really limiting things?
Mhm.
So it's about helping people clear their limiting beliefs so they can access their wisdom and make decisions that are best for them, and so they know exactly what their body needs to heal because their body already knows,
Mhm.
but sometimes you don't understand the message, and
Right.
so you're trying a million things.
Mhm. So let me get this right. So you created this term, right, from your own experience.
Of a mind body mentor? Yeah, like I worked for my mentor's business, which was called the American Institute of Mind Body Medicine, and then I started coaching her community, and so, we just came up with this term that I'm
Okay.
a mind body mentor because I'm using mind body medicine and I'm like mentoring and coaching her community. So that's kind of how we
Yeah,
came up
yeah.
with.
Come
Yeah, but
came up.
you've probably never met another mind body mentor in your life.
No, that's why we're here today because
Yeah.
I think as we discuss some of the things that you do, I think, the work that you do is it resonates with the healing process, and it's something that people need to be familiar with, especially if they're trying to heal themselves. Um,
Mhm.
you mentioned like you had depression and then you healed yourself, and we'll kind of get through that later on in the show. We're gonna get to that good part. Not saying that that's a good part, but that's a part that was, inspiring for you or motivated you to get to this point. And that's really important for us to know about. But so when you mention the term mind body, right? You can I know I heard the echo of body constantly, right? Like using your body,
Mhm.
like to kind of heal yourself in essence. How does that work? Like,
Yeah, so mind body medicine is pretty much all about saying your mind and body are connected. So your thoughts are affecting your health. Most people know this already. But the way I like to word it is your state of consciousness is affecting your health and everything in your life.
mm,
Everything is being created from your state of consciousness. So your thoughts and beliefs. So, like, let's say you have a lot of beliefs like, life is hard. It's just harder for me because I grew up a certain way and that's just the way it is for me. Your beliefs are so powerful that they create your reality, so then that's actually what you're gonna see because
yep,
that's not something that's serving you, and so life's actually trying to show you, "Hey, you're carrying this thing that's not serving you." Otherwise, like, you wouldn't know you're carrying it unless you see life reflecting it back to you.
mhm,
So that's why I say life is a reflection of your state of consciousness. That's just to show you, "Oh, I'm carrying all these things that aren't serving me, they aren't aligned with my natural state of unconditional love, joy, peace, vitality, so that then you can heal those things. And then you shift your consciousness, and then you see a completely different reality. You see people treating you differently. You see things showing up for you effortlessly. You see your body heal. If
yeah,
there's resources that you need to heal your body, now they show up. and they
Mm-hmm.
feel really light and they're really effortless for you to choose. They're not hard for you to get. Like if something's hard for you to get, most likely that's not the thing that your body needs, or you have really limiting beliefs that things are just meant to be hard for you. Like we got to clear all this stuff to be able to tell what is your body actually needing right now. So
Yeah.
that's what I would say mind body medicine is.
That sounds really familiar to me, right? So I'm a therapist, I'm a social worker, but I provide therapy. And part of what you were saying resonated with me as far as like the core beliefs that people have about themselves. Sometimes from childhood experiences, like they believe that they're unlovable. So then they go on in life believing that. And then certain events kind of activate that, like a breakup with a
Mhm.
trashy boyfriend. Our person might come back to their stuff like, "Ugh, no one loves me. See, I'm not worthy." When the reality is something else, but they may start to believe that. So in therapy, we call that core beliefs. But what you're
Mhm.
saying is something a little different because there's a body aspect to it, right? Like I think with therapy, like we do a lot of mind work. And I think I'm always like working with people through their body experiences too, but not in that way. I think I'm looking at the whole picture, like the psychosocial, kind of assessment, like,
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
going on with your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, your environmental health, things like that.
yeah.
But I don't so much dive into it deep enough, right?
Yes. I have found like, because obviously I did a bunch of therapy back in the day when I had depression.
Mhm.
And I found it does kind of, you're kind of staying in the mind a lot, right? Trying to shift your thoughts, using maybe cognitive behavioral therapy, things like
Right.
that. And I found the part I was missing personally was I was not dropping into my body to feel my emotions. It was just like, I want to reject what I'm feeling. I don't want to feel what I'm feeling. Let me try to change my thoughts or change something on the outside so that then I don't feel what I'm feeling. So
Okay.
mind body medicine is all about it's not about being positive. It's about receiving the experience you're having, welcoming the experience you're having instead of rejecting it.
Mhm.
And then when you're in non-resistance, your body already knows how to transmute energy. Emotions are just energy.
All
So your
right.
body knows how to do it when you're in non-resistance, meaning if you're not rejecting what you're feeling, if you're not trying to distract from it, if you're not making it wrong, it will move.
Mm.
Especially if you're in zero resistance, like completely like, I will receive this experience as the gift that it is, even though it hurts like hell. I will feel it. I will bring awareness to where I'm feeling it. It moves very quickly.
I be telling people like sometimes people feel like they're supposed to be positive all the time.
Mhm.
And I'm like, when you look at your phone, you got a whole bunch of emojis and you have those for a reason because you're going to probably feel half of those emojis throughout the day, right? And
Yeah.
I tell people to get in the habit of feeling those emotions. And it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel anger. It's okay to feel happiness. It's okay to feel all those things. But one thing
Mhm.
I warn people, I said, don't sit with certain unhelpful emotions for too long, right?
Okay, yeah, that's where wallowing and welcoming are two different things.
Yeah.
So wallowing would be like, how would I describe it? Like you're kind of like thinking about these negative thoughts over and over and over again
Hmm.
and sulking in it. And like welcoming is more like, okay, where do I feel it in my body? Like you're bringing awareness to it and observing it.
Hmm.
So it's almost like you're the witnesser rather than you're the one in the pain. You're the one observing the pain. That's what I would say the difference between wallowing and welcoming is.
Okay, okay. So I want you to give me an example, right? Because like
Mhm.
everything you said was good and I understand it, but I don't
Yeah,
know if that translates to some of my audience, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
in layman's term, like can you give me a hypothetical situation of some of the stuff that you just explained about what,
Yes, yeah,
the connecting with the body and
yeah.
that experience versus just the cognitive behavioral therapy part?
Yes, yeah, yeah. Maybe I'll use an example of like, let's say you feel shame. I feel like it's a really common emotion. Like, let's say you're judging yourself for something you said or did, or someone makes you feel unworthy or not good enough, or you just feel really, really bad about something you did and you're feeling so embarrassed about it, like something like that. Okay. So the only reason you feel upset is because you're triggered. So that means you feel discomfort in your body.
Mm-hmm.
You would not like if you're not triggered, you wouldn't feel any discomfort in your body. So that means there is somewhere in your body that you are feeling the shame. So
Okay.
the first step is we need to bring awareness to where are you feeling it in your body.
Okay.
So like, I don't know, there's lots of different ways you can bring awareness. So first I just notice where I feel it in my body. And then sometimes I'll like rate it on a scale of 1 to 10.
Okay.
Honestly, the number does not matter. It's just when you are bringing awareness to it, you're not trying to change it. So you're not resisting it. So things are already moving when you're just asking yourself these questions like, oh, on a scale of 1 to 10, like if 10 is like, I feel so like triggered right now, and 1 is like not that triggered right now, like where am I at? Or like, does it have like a temperature? Does it have a size? Does it have a texture? Like
Mm,
literally the answer to these questions means nothing. It's just ways to bring more awareness to
okay.
where do I feel it in my body? Where do I feel the discomfort in my body? Because if I stay in my mind, for example, like with cognitive behavioral therapy, I guess the way to change that would be like, oh, it's not even true that I'm unworthy, like trying
Right.
to shift the
Like
thought.
shift the thought process. Right, right, for sure.
Yeah. So what I do is that's actually what I do after I welcome the emotion. So first I welcome the emotion because the thoughts bring up the emotion. So I don't want to just change my thought right away because then I'm going to feel the shame less, but it
Mm,
didn't go anywhere. I
okay.
feel it temporarily less, but I didn't dissolve the shame. I didn't
Mm,
dissolve the root belief on why do I think I'm unworthy? I didn't get to it. So I first welcome the emotion and then I bring like breath all the way down to my belly. So I'm activating my parasympathetic nervous system response so that my
okay.
body can just work as it's
Pause.
designed. Yeah.
Pause.
Okay. Mhm.
Give me an example.
Yeah.
Because like I know a lot of times when people feel anxious, they might feel it in their stomach, like a somatic symptom of like, what we might call the butterflies or their bubbly guts or stomach is
Yeah. Yeah.
just turning or something like that, right? So
Yeah.
is that an example of like where that's just
Where you
one.
would feel it. Yeah. When I feel anxiety, actually, I feel almost every emotion in my stomach personally for me.
Mhm.
And that's probably because that's your solar plexus. That's where you like store your personal power kind of thing. So if you're giving your power away, probably feel it in your stomach.
Got it.
But tune
Got it.
into you. Like you could feel it anywhere.
Mhm.
By now, I've just kind of noticed that's where I feel all of my emotions. So I just immediately kind of bring awareness to my stomach.
Mhm.
But don't make assumptions though, right? Because what if a
Right.
different emotion is stored in a different area of your body? But
Yeah.
yeah, with anxiety, most likely you're feeling some sort of butterflies in your stomach. So then you'd bring awareness to that area, to your stomach, and
Okay.
more awareness, like, okay, what does it kind of feel like? Yeah, it feels kind of like butterflies. Like now you're bringing more awareness to the anxiety and the
Mhm.
fear versus less. So now it can actually dissolve versus like temporarily cover it up.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. I
Yeah.
like. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
the second part is the breath, right? It's very important because, like, let's say you have anxiety, you're breathing into your chest, right? So you're just like all tensing up all these muscles. So I tell people relax your shoulders, and the breath will automatically start coming down into your belly. Belly breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system response. The reason this is important is because this is your rest and digest state, right? Your body already knows how to do all this kind of stuff for you. It already knows how to heal itself. It already knows how to do everything, and the only reason that it wouldn't be doing it is if you're in fight or flight, because now it's not working as it's designed. So it's very
Okay.
important to slow the breath and belly breathe. So that's the second step. First step was awareness. Second step was breathing, conscious, slower belly breaths. And
Mhm.
then part C is conscious choice. So
Mm,
this is where you can bring in kind of like the cognitive behavioral therapy type thing, like just something that you know is true that feels light, that's going to anchor in the lightness that you're now already feeling because you were just dissolved a bunch of energy. So now you can just remind yourself, like, I'm worthy of love or something. Like it could almost be like an affirmation. Sometimes
mhm.
I'll just say, I choose to relax my body and be at total peace now. You're just making a conscious choice to bring in more lightness. It's
Mm,
actually the least important part of the equation, though, because the body already knows how to dissolve energy if you do A and B. It's just C is there to expand the lightness and just like anchor in things that you know are true, right? So
right.
remind yourself, like, the only reason I feel unworthy right now is probably because of something that happened in the past, and this person is just triggering it for me. And, I'm actually glad that they're bringing it up because I do want to heal this, like just bring in something that feels true for you that will make you want to receive this experience. And that's where you can bring in what you've learned as a therapist, the cognitive behavioral therapy, then you can bring it in at that point. But I find a lot of people just kind of bypass the emotions and then go straight to shifting their thoughts. And
Mhm.
then they just feel temporarily better and they haven't shifted the energy.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So the shift in energy needs to take place first.
Yes.
Um, So you just like that whole step of what you just kind of gave me, that 1, 2, 3.
Mm,
Um, in the background, you can kind of see like drop a jewel with Malika. We stand for educate, heal, enhance, and transform. I don't know if you can see all that, but
mhm,
all those things, right? Just kind of educating a person about like making them aware of even what's wrong. Because one thing I noticed with people before they start, like before they make a decision for better or for worse, or before they get into anything, or before that discomfort comes up, there
mm,
is that feeling, whether it's in your stomach, your head, your chest pains, your body, your knees, wherever, there's
mhm,
some type of discomfort and it shifts, it's in the body.
mhm.
And we don't pay attention to our bodies, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying you and I, but I'm saying generally people sometimes don't pay attention to their bodies until something is really aching or disturbing them, and then they want to get help. But this sounds like a really um I like this part because it's also, I like this approach because it's helping people be more aware of their body and be in tune with it.
Mhm.
My sister used to crack me up because I never used to notice this, but like she used to tell me like before, like I would like get like angry or anxious or something, I would like do this thing with my knee, and my leg is bouncing up and down and like going crazy, and I would never know. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, right before you're about to like get upset or angry or like your knee is like bouncing. I'm like, what? I never
Oh,
knew that. So I started to become more aware of it. This was
yes.
when I was younger, like, like teenage, like 20, 18, 19, somewhere in my younger adulthood. But it's good to become aware of these things when you're younger versus older.
Mhm,
But I would
mhm,
notice that she showed me, and I was like, wow, I never paid attention because I didn't pay attention to my body. I paid attention to what was happening, like the activating circumstance or event that was
mhm.
probably feeling that, right? But
Yeah,
as I got older, I started to notice situations where my leg would start to like shake, and I'm like, oh, okay, I know what that is. And
yeah,
before I would even go to that next level of angry or upset or anxiety or whatever it may have been, I would be able to pull myself back in.
yeah,
You get what I'm
yeah,
saying? So,
yeah. I
and
always say awareness is the medicine. Like people think, oh, you need awareness, and then you make a different choice, and then things change. But a lot of the times things start changing immediately with just more awareness. Like
yeah,
alone, now you're making a conscious choice, number one, and now you're in non-resistance. So things can shift. So that's
yeah,
why awareness alone is the reason why, like, you just bring awareness to now you're doing this knee thing, and then it just stops happening.
yeah,
Awareness really can be the medicine even of itself alone, sometimes without an additional resource needed.
yeah, no, for sure. So let's go through those steps one more time. So step
Yeah.
one, what?
Awareness. Step one is awareness.
Okay.
Step two is breathing, like belly breathing,
Mm-hmm.
slower, deeper breaths to
Mm-hmm.
activate your sympathetic nervous system state. And then part C is conscious choice.
All right.
People get confused on what is conscious choice. You can
Wait.
think of it like an affirmation or just reminding yourself of something that feels light and true to you.
Okay.
And if this is confusing for you, you can either skip it because it is the least important part, or what I do every single time, I say I choose to relax my body and be at total peace now. If I
Yeah.
can't think of any other conscious choice to make, I'm just going to choose to relax my body and
Right.
feel more peace.
No, that sounds really good. But I want to go back to the breathing. What do you call
Yeah.
it again? What's the breathing called again?
Belly breathing,
No, what'd you say after that? Starts with
the parasympathetic
a.
nervous system response.
Okay, so that sounds really scientific.
Okay, so maybe I'll just break it down. There's
No, no,
this
no, this is good.
sympathetic,
No, no,
yeah,
no, 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 no. I,
yeah.
you don't have to break it down. I
Okay.
just feel like it sounds scientific and there's science behind it. Like when you're
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
yeah, like no, 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 don't break it down. Well, you can break it down if you want, but more so like I was trying to target that word, right? And so sometimes people don't believe things work, right?
Yeah,
Like they're like, oh yeah, whatever, sure. Like, yeah, be happy and breathe,
yeah,
right? But what you're saying, there's science all connected throughout everything you just said. So it's not just like you just made this up. This is
yeah.
very scientific in some way. So that's why I wanted to make that point.
And there is so many studies about mind body medicine. It's just not shared, probably for particular reasons I'm not going to go into. It is kind of a threat to the medical system for if people can heal themselves naturally, right? So it's not pushed. You have to search for it to be able to find stuff like this, or it just shows up for you when you need it and when you're ready for it. It didn't show up for me until I was ready for it. I was only trying conventional things for the longest time until I had maxed out on that and it wasn't working for me. I truly believe you always receive what you need and you
Mhm.
don't receive it a minute sooner than you need it because you would just reject it if it came a minute sooner. You know,
That's
it's
right.
like even if I tried to meet my person 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have been attracted to him 10 years ago if I had all these beliefs that I'm not worthy of unconditional love. I would have
Mhm.
only been attracted to a guy who's emotionally unavailable. So he
Mhm.
could have shown up sooner, but I wouldn't have received it.
You wouldn't have
You
noticed. You wouldn't have even been aware.
Yes. Yes. Yeah,
Right?
I would he could be right there and I don't see him, you
Not even
know?
gonna see him, right?
Yeah, these resources are already here, just, people don't realize, and even if you just think about the placebo effect for just a second, like,
Mhm.
people are like, "Oh, it's just a placebo." And it's like, but why are you not digging into why a placebo is so powerful? It's their thoughts and their beliefs that make them think this thing is gonna work for them, so then it
Mm.
works. So
Yeah.
why are we not focusing so much energy on shifting your beliefs when we already realize, like, it's that powerful that you can take nothing and you can heal?
Listen, that right there, that was so powerful right there because I don't think people focusing on that part. When you brought up the placebo effect, like people will say like, "Oh, it's just a placebo." Like something works and something doesn't. In your mind is just playing tricks on you or whatever. But the
Mhm.
fact that you can make your mind do certain things, it's
Mhm.
like, wait a minute, we don't only just see that in movies. This is real life. Like this can happen, but your mind can shift your reality. I am a firm believer in that. Like, and I tell people, like, depending on how you're thinking about something, it can make or break your day, right?
Mhm.
It can make or break your reality or what's going on with you. If you wake up today and you got some challenging news, the way you look at that news will determine your next step in your or the next course of your reality for that day. You
Mhm.
know, I remember a couple weeks ago, like I got some bad news about my car. I was like, oh man, like, so I was like, okay. So I had to practice what I preach because I can't, like, I tell my people I work with all the time, like, I just don't tell you and teach you these techniques. I gotta use them too, right? Like,
Yes. Oh, yeah, yeah.
make sure they work on me. And the first thought was like, ugh. But then I said, no, wait a minute, Malika, stop. And I stopped, I took a moment to breathe and say, what can you do? This is not that bad. And I started to kind of talk myself through things. And at first, you're right, the awareness part I didn't notice that anxiety coming in. It was trying
Mm.
to creep in. It was trying to creep in my stomach and stuff,
Yes,
but I
yes.
was like, not today. So, and I was able to make conscious decisions and choices for my day because I didn't allow the challenge of the situation to break me down.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I also thought about it too. I was like, what if I did that? What if I took that news and was down about it and sad? Then I wouldn't be moving. I wouldn't be moving forward. I'll be moving slower, or I wouldn't be able to get to the point I need to get to. And I also thought about it too. Like I said, it was just a car, but it's just a car. It's not like, it's just
Yeah. Okay, but you know what? You were kind of downplaying your emotions and your experience, like as if, oh, I shouldn't be upset because it's just a car. Like, because I really receive every single trigger in my life, like no matter how big or small, it's there to bring up something in me
right.
not
Yeah.
serving me, right? So yeah, so like I had stuff like that happen to me, like my shower broke and I could have just been like, oh, it's just a shower, whatever. I shouldn't be upset about it. But I was like, I really received the experience and all the emotions it brought up for me was like, I have to do everything myself. Like if I had a partner, he could take care of this for me. So then it brought up this loneliness and all this kind of stuff. And if I didn't receive that experience, like then I would have had to have another trigger in my life to then heal those energies. So you can receive these small little things that show up for you to heal instead of it needing to turn into a big thing and then you heal it later.
Yeah.
So yeah, so if I was in your situation with what happened with the car, I would have immediately brought awareness to where do I feel this discomfort in my body? Because obviously there's discomfort in your body after this car thing happened. You're very upset. I would not downplay it and try to make it anything less. And I
Hmm.
wouldn't bring in the shifting of the thoughts that you said yet until I
Yeah.
have welcomed some of the emotion and the
Yeah.
energy. And that
Yeah.
would do part C is what you just said. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's
I
just a car.
probably skipped over some of that, but I probably
You
did some
probably
of it.
did it. Yeah, yeah.
I think I did some of it too because when I was like experiencing it, I was talking a lot of big trash. I was like, I was like, what? And my other voice, my non-therapeutic voice came on. But
Uh-huh.
I did feel it at first. I did
Good,
feel
good,
those
good, good.
emotions. And then I had to like let it go because I didn't want to feel that all day. Right. And
Okay, so that's another point I wanna make. People are so afraid to feel their emotions because they think, "Oh, I'll just wallow in it, I'll be stuck in it, and then I won't feel like
okay,
doing anything, and I'll get nothing done."
yeah.
Not true if you're welcoming versus wallowing. I'm
Okay. Cool.
observing it. I'm not
Okay.
in it, I'm observing it. Where do I feel it? I'm receiving it with love. I'm having compassion for the one who is upset.
Okay.
That's so different, and that's what really moves the energy, and then you truly moved something, and now you have a ton of energy to do whatever you wanna do. You
Yeah.
didn't have to, like, force yourself to get over it so that then you can get your work done, you
Yeah,
know?
no, and I think partially I probably should have took more of that approach, and I probably took it at different times.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Took it at different times, but I think the awareness part is a very important piece because if we're not aware, because I noticed myself like talking to people different, acting different, but I was
Mhm.
also aware of it, like where this is coming from. Like I know me, like I'm a goofy person. Like I know I'm super goofy. I'm always making a joke. But when I notice myself like what my son called the villain mode,
Yeah.
like I'm like, that's not, but like you said, like it's okay to it goes back to what I was saying earlier, like it's okay to feel like all those emojis, right? Like it's okay.
Yes,
Like
yes.
it's okay. Like
It
why
truly
not?
is okay. And I wanna, like, just hammer that point in because I hear people say all the time, "Oh, it's okay to feel what you're feeling." But then how often do they say to themselves, "But you shouldn't really be feeling that way. Like, why are you upset about that when there's bigger problems in the world?" And they say that to themselves. You shouldn't be upset about this. Like with the car thing. Why are you
Yeah.
upset about the car thing? It's just a car. And then people downplay their emotions. You
Mhm.
should be allowed to feel whatever you're feeling, even if it looks like you have no reason, because there is always a reason. Like if you're
Mhm.
triggered, you are healing something,
You
you
know
know?
what? And it brought up some of the stuff in the shower that you brought up, not to cut you off. Like you're
Yeah.
like when you thought of the shower when it broke, it brought up like, gee, if I had someone else here, I wouldn't have to deal. Like it brought up those things like perhaps you gotta heal from or go through or experience or think about
Yeah,
over.
it didn't happen for no reason. Even your car
Mhm.
thing, it didn't happen for no reason. And
Ah,
that
thank
doesn't mean you need to know the reason either. As long as you receive the experience instead of reject the experience, you'll receive whatever it was that it was trying to heal.
let's go. I love this. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. So
Yeah, yeah, people
so
do the downplaying thing all the time. Like, right now, like, this guy I'm seeing, his dad just died in a car accident, and then I was telling my friend about it, and she's going through a really tough time with her job, and she's like, "Oh, I guess I should just put it in perspective that at least my family members are alive." And I was like, "Yes, that's true, but you are going through an extremely stressful time in your life. You're being asked to heal a bunch of stuff, and if you just downplay it like it's not as bad as what the next person has, you're never gonna heal what you're going through right now, and then it's
right,
gonna have to get more intense for you to
right,
heal, you know? So never downplay what you're feeling just because you think you shouldn't feel that way or people have it worse than you or you shouldn't be like, I cried the other day after a haircut, truly, because the haircut just wasn't what I wanted, and I'm
yeah,
sure a million people out there that would judge me that you're crying over a haircut when, like, people are dying, and it's like, I'm gonna receive that experience because it's clearing something in me. I'm not gonna make myself wrong that I'm crying over a haircut. It's healing something in me. Why am I upset over the haircut? Something.
right.
What is it? I don't even need to know. I'm just gonna
I don't
receive it,
know. It was
you know?
something here.
Yeah.
Wow. I like that because I think you're right. We're conditioned to kind of like brush off our emotions. And I think that's part of like to the system of capitalism too, in essence of this, or just the world, like keep going, like go through all these experiences and don't feel and just keep going. And
Yeah.
that's what the reality is, especially like when I'm working in a therapeutic setting, I'm always like, you know what? Even people are bringing up stuff from their childhood and adulthood, right? They've repressed feelings of traumatic experiences just to kind of survive and get through. But in adulthood, those things that they repress are coming back and they're showing up in different ways. But that's all and part of it's coping and defense mechanisms, but part of it is society conditions you shouldn't feel, just keep it moving. Keep going. Keep
Mhm.
going. Keep
Yeah.
going. Keep going. And when you keep going, what happens is it keeps coming up. It pops up when you least expect it. When you
Mhm.
thought you've healed yourself or whatever that means for most people, or when you thought you're doing great, it pops up,
Yeah. And it
you know?
tends to pop up at the worst time because that's the time you're actually going to finally receive it. You know, when it shows up in, like, an area of your life you don't really care about, You're
Yeah.
like, whatever, I'm just gonna maybe distract from it, work more so I'm distracted and I don't really feel it. But then
Mm.
when it affects an area of your life that's so important to you, then normally you have more willingness. Like, okay, I really want to shift this thing that's happening in my life. So now I'm actually gonna be willing to feel my pain and go into this, you
Yeah.
know?
This is deep. It kind of reminds me too of like being a human, regardless of where you are in life, you still got to go through the human processes, whether you want to or not. So
Mhm.
you think about this. I I was just kind of think of about like when we see people become wealthy really quick, and maybe there's something that happens with them on the news, and
Mm.
not even wealthy really quick, but just become like come up, right? Like in life, like they become rich or wealthy from, let's say, some of the celebrities we see, right? And then you hear these stories of like tragedy, like, oh, how did this happen to them? Or, or they're going through this crazy event with all that money, you would think they would be doing fine, or with
Mm.
all that, they should be okay. Why would they do something so stupid? Or why would they make that choice? And I'm like,
Mhm.
interesting. Why do you think that they wouldn't make certain choices just because they had money? Or so what do you
Yeah.
think your take on that?
There's a lot of judgment I find towards people that have money or receive money effortlessly. And I think that's showing something about that person that you have limiting beliefs about, like, it can't be that easy. Because I believe abundance is your birthright. And it's actually meant to be effortless for
Okay.
everyone to be in your level of abundance, right? So like if you're a super bougie person, you're actually meant to receive whatever that looks like for you. And then some people are not super bougie and their idea of total abundance is maybe living on a farm or whatever, and that is supposed to be effortless for them. I do believe abundance is your birthright, and most people don't believe that. Most people believe you have to work hard for it. You don't deserve it unless you've worked hard for it or whatever. And when they see a person that's receiving money effortlessly, they go immediately into judging them, because what happens when you judge another person is now you don't feel your pain as much. You feel like temporarily better when you judge another person. So then they don't feel the pain of, I don't have that. I can't have that, or whatever their beliefs is that makes it so painful for them to see another person in wealth. I think that's why people judge people with wealth. Like, I don't know if you watch the show The Trust on Netflix. It's a very new show.
I gotta watch it. No, I haven't.
Anyway, it's like, okay, all these people are supposed to share the trust, but every week you can vote to, evict someone from the trust, and then there's more money for everyone else and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh
And there was
my.
one guy who he was already a millionaire. He's like 21, 22 years old and already a millionaire. And everyone was like, he does not deserve to be part of the trust, and they voted him out immediately. And they're like,
Mm,
he doesn't deserve it because he didn't struggle. I had to struggle my whole life. He doesn't deserve it. It was handed to him, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, what, maybe he doesn't need the money, that's true, but that doesn't mean he's any less deserving of abundance because he didn't struggle
right.
for it or work hard for it. Like,
That's
he's actually trying to show you what's available for you, right? And if you welcomed the triggers that come up in your body when you see someone who has that much wealth and it bugs you, you could actually clear the energy and the beliefs that are having you be in lack,
mm.
instead of just judge the person who, you know, is wealthy.
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. I think that's really cool to think of it that way too. I was
Yeah.
also thinking that in essence, like I just think sometimes when people see people going through like a challenge on the news or TV, like a celebrity, and they say, "Oh, well, they have all this money or they have all this access to, wealth and resources. How could they be doing all these crimes or crazy things or weird things?" And I'm like, well, maybe they never dealt with those things, so they still like remember we talked about like sometimes when people have experiences in life and if they repress them, they're gonna come up no
Yes.
matter. And I think people forget that people are human. And so if we're not, I think if we're not aware or aware of what's going on with us, it doesn't matter whether you're considered poor or rich or wealthy or not, it's going to come up. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes, 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 yes,
Part
yes.
of the human experience. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
need
yeah.
to heal, you need to be aware, and people need to heal however they heal from things, but if they don't, it will continue to come up.
Yes,
And and,
exactly.
and sometimes patterns they're always kind of there sometimes, I think, but then they
Mm,
just kind of get worse. Like they just keep going and going if people
yeah,
don't become aware, if they don't want to change. And it doesn't, so that's why I was kind of going to like, I want people to know that this is not just for people who are just down and out. This is for everyone, right? Like
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
the
even if
mind,
it seems like
body.
you have everything that you need, I think that's the point you're trying to say, right?
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I think we see people on TV and like, oh, they're living a great life, but don't realize they're still human too and have the human experience. And
Mhm.
part of the human experience, whether whoever you are, you need to be able to connect and be aware with, the mind body, it needs to connect. That's just the human process.
Exactly. Like, if I did that and I said, "Oh, I shouldn't be upset because I have this, this, and that," I would have never healed from depression because when I had depression, I had everything you thought that you would want. Like I had just moved in here, moved out of my parents' house, had this beautiful home, had a loving boyfriend, had considered a great paying job, friends, like
Don't
all
just
this
say great paying
healthy,
job.
young.
What was your job?
I
What
was
was
an
your
engineer, but I didn't like my job. Um,
Oh, you were an engineer. I just want to
yeah.
kind of bring note to that because you could be anywhere in the world doing some engineer stuff, right? Like you could be
Mhm.
building buildings and stuff like that, whatever engineers do, right? But
Yeah.
you chose this path. But go ahead. I want to hear how you got to this point.
Yeah, I guess the point I was trying to say though is I had depression even though it looked like I had everything in my life,
Mhm.
right? Because it's an internal thing. I could have tried to just like, date more, get more money, change my job, whatever. But that wouldn't have changed anything internally. And for me, I didn't have to change anything externally for me to heal from depression first. Once I healed from depression, yeah, my outer life just ended up responding, right? Because now I'm someone who loves myself more. So I can't stay in a job I hate. It just doesn't align? So that's pretty much like what happened. I was in a job that I hated. I worked as an engineer. I just knew that this wasn't what I was meant to do. The 9 to 5 thing, the corporate politics. Like, I'm so sensitive. And the corporate world, there's just no room for sensitivity. It's inappropriate, you know? But then I use my sensitivity as a gift now. Like, I'm so sensitive that when I'm 2 degrees off center, I feel it and it's so uncomfortable. If I put my energy into anything that doesn't feel aligned, it feels so uncomfortable? But if I said that in the workplace as an engineer, like if they ask me to do a task and it feels so heavy and I tell them, "Hey, it feels really heavy," they're not going to care. They're going to be like, "It's your job, just do it?"
Okay.
Versus, like, when I worked for my mentor after that, she loved how sensitive I was because it gave her awareness. She's like, "Oh, okay, if this feels heavy for Alicia, it means it's not required. Like, if something feels heavy, it means it's either not required or there's a different way to do it." So she would use my sensitivity as the gift that it is. And now as a healer, I can use my sensitivity as the gift that it is. I can feel what's going on in someone's body. I can just intuitively know, why are you not healing? And there was just no room for that in the corporate world for me to use my sensitivity as a gift. I had to suppress it to survive in that
Mhm.
world. So
Right.
eventually just started, you know, just I started having depression because of that and because of a relationship I was in that I felt all this unworthiness and it all came up and I didn't know what to do with those emotions and I would suppress all of it because he had like extreme anxiety. So I was so afraid like if I tell him I'm upset, he's going to leave me, which he did. Every time he got anxious, he left, he'd come back, he'd leave, he would come back. So that's actually what started the depression was the relationship, but it was just a mixture of abandoning myself in every area of my life, suppressing my emotions in every area of my life. That's what triggered the depression. Um, yeah, so I guess how that's kind of how I got into short story of how I got into.
Right, right. But
Yeah.
this is a short story, but it's a really important one because I think this story resonates with many people where
Mhm.
people stay in things, right? We know it doesn't serve as a purpose. Like we know it doesn't feel right, right? Like we know it's like there's discomfort. We know it brings body pains and I always tell clients too, like when it gets to the point when you're in a situation and you start having body issues, like that's what I call it, like body issues or health issues, or you're around certain circumstances and you can't function because you feel uncomfortable in this way, like your body's starting to be impacted. I say you need
Mhm.
to make a change.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
the telltale sign you have to make a change. It's no longer just um a simple experience. This is something more because now it's going to grow into something else. When you get to that
Exactly.
point, your health is being impacted. You,
Yes.
you get
And a
what
lot
I'm
of
saying?
reasons that people won't make the change is because there's fear. So
Mm.
the only reason I actually was able to make the change is because I welcomed the fear, and I did it for like a good 6 months to a year. I kept feeling into the fear of if I quit my engineering job today, I'm so scared. I don't know if there's anything I'm meant to do, right? Because I didn't know yet that I was going to start helping people heal, right? So I was like, what if there's nothing I'm good at? I'm just terrified to quit my job, right? So I kept thinking about what if I quit my job and then I feel this unthinkable fear in my body and then I would welcome it. And there was so much fear that I had to do that for 6 months to a year. And then after I did that, it was like I wasn't scared. Like I could tell I had actually dissolved a really deep layer of fear because I was like, I'm ready to quit. I had already decided I'm going to quit in September. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing next, but I'm not scared. There was just like when there's no fear, you just aren't scared on how you're going to get taken care of. So part of you just knows you're going to be taken care of when you're not in fear. So then you're not afraid to honor yourself. If your body is saying quit your job, you're not afraid anymore. So
Yeah.
that's honestly the reason I was even able to make a change
Yeah.
because I allowed myself to feel how much it sucked to be in my job and how scary it was to leave my job. That's two things people will pretty much never do because they're so afraid if I allow myself to realize and feel how much I don't want to be in this job, then I'm going to hate it more and not know how to get out. So I'd rather just not even look at, do I like my job? That's one of the first things I ask people about their work. I was like, do you love your work? Because
Mm.
I want to bring more awareness to what they're feeling. I want
Right.
them to tune in before they answer that question instead of be like, yeah, I like it. Like the pay is good. Like benefits are good. Like I want them to drop in before they answer that question.
Mm.
And some people will and some people won't. But those that do, if I got them to be more aware of the fact that they don't like their job and they're in pain, it's, that awareness is the medicine. They're already starting to make a shift in their life
Right.
versus they suppress it. I'm fine. They're never going to make that shift in their life.
Yeah, yeah. So Alicia, so
Mhm.
going from this sounds great, but like that period of time of going like that fear, right? I always call fear like a little hater. I explain it to people like, oh, it's like remember back in the day those commercials? I don't know if you remember those commercials, like the little devil on one shoulder and the angel, and one is like whispering nice things, and the other thing's like, oh, or whatever, like saying nice. But I always call fear like a little hater. It's like, I don't know if you ever had a friend or someone you knew, a colleague that was like always like. Alicia, you know what I mean? Like, everything you did, she's like, Alicia, and it's like that little hater. Like every time you're trying to move ahead or you're doing something, it's just like gotta say something shady or do something, or it's like what I call a blessing blocker. So,
Ah,
so all right, so but a lot of people when they're in that fear stage, right? Like, yes, I recognize a person may say to themselves, I recognize my job is shitty or crappy or whatever it may be,
yeah.
but that's that fear, right?
Mhm.
Of like stepping outside of that. I
Yeah.
work sometimes when I work with people who are dealing with like um low income housing and receiving certain like benefits, like they want to get out of that. But then there's
Yes.
that fear of like if I leave this, if I
Yeah.
even penny over what I'm supposed to, all my benefits will be cut off. So then I won't be able to
Mhm.
access, I won't be able to take that next step. And I'm like, well, you gotta, if that's what you want, you got to try it.
I know.
The conversation is a little bit more than that, but in
Mhm.
essence, that's how the conversation goes. But that fear factor is scary for many people. And what it was for you was, how did you get through that? Like, how many months was it? About 6 months or?
6 months to a year of actively welcoming the fear. And I would
Okay.
honestly say actually, because I had taken a leave of absence from my job. It was about
Mm.
a year. So for that year at the beginning, I like didn't really welcome the fear because I wasn't that scared because I was receiving an income even though I wasn't working, right? So I wasn't really feeling the fear. But then near the end where they're like, okay, you've been off for a year now, you have to decide if you're coming back to work. Like they gave me like a week to decide or something. Now I'm feeling all the fear, right?
Mm.
That is when real shifts started to happen. When I was actively in the fear, feeling the fear. So that's why I tell people think about quitting your job and then the fear will come up. And
Mhm.
now you can actually welcome it and heal it. If you're not really aware of the fear, it's kind of hard to heal it. You know, that's not the only way. I'm just saying with mind body medicine, that's the way is feel it to heal it kind of thing. So
Feel
there's
it
no
to.
threat. Yeah, there's no threat in thinking about quitting your job because that fear is already in your body. You're already scared. If you don't have this job, you're not going to be taken care of. So there's no threat in bringing it to the surface and bringing awareness to it. That's what actually dissolves it. So that's what I would say to someone's that's in that situation.
Mhm.
Number two, they really got to start clearing any beliefs they have about like it has to be hard, or I don't deserve it, or receiving effortlessly is like, shameful and wrong, like you got to earn it. Like we got
Wow.
to clear those beliefs if you're going to have money show up for you effortlessly. So
Yeah.
I would work on those two things, like shame and fear.
Yeah.
And hear those things, like you're in a new consciousness. You're no longer afraid and you think you're worthy. So
Yeah.
like the kind of things that show up in your life, like so many different opportunities and resources that you didn't know existed on ways to be sourced and taken care of.
Yeah. So going back to that, right? When you let go of that fear and kind of released it and became like when you left the job, right?
Mhm, mhm.
What changed for you? Did anything change instantly? Did it take
Yeah,
time? Like, what
actually,
happened?
it was pretty instant. So my mentor always used to tell me the second you so she used to tell me the reason this job is showing up in your life is to clear the fears and the doubts that you're carrying because they're not serving you. The
Hmm.
doubts that there's nothing that you're here to do, the fear that you won't be taken care of if you're like doing work that you love, the doubt that there is even anything that you're like good at, all that stuff, right? The part of
Yeah.
you that doesn't know abundance is your birthright. Essentially, she's like, that's what this job is here to clear in you. And she's like, the second you clear it, she's like, I'm telling you, the job will fade out of your life naturally. You won't even have to do anything because
Yeah.
it has no purpose in your life anymore. And I
Ah,
couldn't tell you how right she was. Like that second I felt like there was no fear and I was like, "Oh, I'm quitting in September." I didn't have to quit. Okay? Less than a week later, they were like, "Yeah, we don't have any projects for you." And like they offered me a package. And then literally 2 days later is when my mentor was like, "I want you to mentor my community. People are asking for you to mentor them." I didn't have
wow.
to do anything. I didn't have to go build a business, try to find a new job, new opportunity. I didn't even have to quit, and I got a package on top of it. Like, literally everything happened in, like, a week
Everything
from the
flowed.
moment
It all
I shifted
came
my
together.
yeah,
Wow.
the second I shifted my consciousness, my reality rearranged itself.
That's so true. I think people don't really know, and it looks different for everyone. Everyone's
Oh,
experience, like
yeah.
yours
Yeah.
was almost instant, and a lot of times it can be instant for people, but you know, it's one thing to say, yeah, abundance is your birthright, shift your consciousness. But when you actually experience it, you can really talk that, you can really
Oh,
talk that,
yeah, yeah.
it. Like, this is real. Like, I know how real this is. And it goes back to like even me doing therapy. Like, part of like I've made some changes in my life in the last few years, but part of it is
Okay.
because I've been shifting so many other lives. I'm like, I gotta shift my like you see the power in just
Yeah.
shifting like through that mindset sometimes. And I think
Yeah.
any component to this is very important and very powerful. But like I've seen people shift lives and like Malika, thank you so much. Like, you know what I mean? Like when I'm making a move, I'm doing this, I'm doing it in this way. And I got your voice in back of my mind and whatever it
Mhm.
may be. But I've seen people's lives shift like this
Yeah.
instantly, thinking that there was no hope, that life would never change. They were hopeless and over like time, you know, it just shifted. And
Yeah.
it was like, wow, this is my new reality. I'm like, yeah, this is your new reality. And
Yeah.
and as I do this work, it shifts me too. I think we're always evolving and growing. And it's so that's why I was like, when you know it, when you've seen it, you can talk it because you know how real it is. And
Exactly. Yeah, I can say it with confidence. And actually, I do think that I had to go through that experience with being scared to leave my engineering job to even be ready to be a mind body mentor. Because, like, if I'm still carrying beliefs like abundance isn't your birthright, what happens when a client comes to me and they're in a job that they hate?
mhm,
I'm not gonna advise them to follow their wisdom. I'm gonna be terrified for them that they're not gonna be sourced, and then I'm gonna be telling them to stay in a job that they hate. Like, I'm not helping that person at all if I have my own beliefs about abundance, right? So I truly think I had to know cellularly, abundance is your birthright before I could do the work
okay,
I'm doing, right? Because I would not be able to
right.
help people. I would be scared for them. I would be like, "Oh, yeah, I think you should stay in that job for the rest of your
Right.
life." You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be able to help them.
Sure. And if you never left, if you didn't make that change in your life, I can only imagine where you would be now. If you were dealing with depression for 5 years, it would
But
just been 10 years. And depression can turn into other things over time if it's left untreated. So I'm so happy that you made that shift in your life at the right time. And it goes back to that saying, like, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
God,
You
I
know,
love
it's
that
like when you
saying.
were ready,
Yeah.
yes, yes, when you were ready. So like the universe knew what you needed when you needed it specifically, and that appeared for you. And so this is really helpful. I think this can change a lot of lives. And it's I think the reality is, yes, there are conventional ways for people to get treatment, but the reality is that doesn't work for everybody. And sometimes people need mixed methods or holistic methods. I really try to approach things from a holistic perspective, right? And honestly, like I can't treat you like as a therapist and say, "Oh, how you feeling today?" without recognizing you're having some body issues or some
Yeah.
spiritual issues or some social issues. I have to treat the whole person, and that's part of the whole person. I can't like fix certain things in your body, right? Like I'm not a doctor in that essence, right? A medical doctor, but I have to acknowledge all those things that help treat people. And I think without acknowledging the whole person, it's hard to heal a person, right? It's hard to kind of
Mhm.
help
Yeah.
a person heal themselves. But you know what? I always learned too. I had a C-section years ago for my first son, and I know this is like nobody. It's probably like a little uh
Yeah.
detail, but I'm not going to go too in depth. But it was an emergency C-section, and I was like, C-section, what's that? I didn't even know what that was. Like I was like confused. Like I thought I was going to have a regular situation. But long story short, I ended up getting a uh I had like a blood clot or something like in the C-section incision area, so I had to go back and get that fixed, whatever.
Right.
But long story short, here's the beauty of it.
Mm.
I literally had to have nurses come by my house, clean and stuff it and pack and do all that stuff like 2 or 3 times a day for months.
Mhm.
Scariest situation, whatever. But this is the part that was beautiful. I saw my body heal itself.
Mhm. Yep.
It took months, but
Yeah.
that image never left me. I was like, whoa, like from the
Yeah.
inside out. I'm walking around with like this incision open hole, if you want to say it literally.
Yeah.
But I literally saw the body like heal itself.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I was like, wow, when you can see the body literally heal itself on the
Yes.
cellular level.
Yes. I know. I always say, like, when you cut your finger, everyone already knows it's gonna heal. Every single person on the planet knows when you cut your finger, it's gonna heal, right?
Awesome.
And that your body's gonna do it. And you didn't have to micromanage, know it, understand it, do anything, you know what I mean? But a lot of
Yeah,
people, when they have an illness or a problem, they immediately go and I need to control it. I need to fix it. You know, my body's failing me, so I have to take control. Versus my body's actually showing me a message. My body's showing me that there's something missing and there's something that it needs. It's not failing you, it's actually never giving up on you. That's what I think illness is. Your
wow.
body's way of never giving up on you. I will show you you are carrying things that aren't serving you, and you could have a much more beautiful life if you just
Right.
cleared these beliefs. Then it wouldn't turn into an illness, and you would have more money, and you would have,
Yep.
closer connections, like you would have it all.
Yeah, no, and you're so right. And it just reminds like this mind body healing process, it reminds me of that healing process I went through because I had to I healed my body. And just like the cut finger like example that you use, like it's going to heal. You just got to go through the motions. You got to go through the process. And that
Yeah.
reminds me of the aspect of I think this is step number 2. Wait, no, step number 1 of being aware. Like remember you said go through the feelings, go through the emotions. It's okay. Like no, don't try to like push that stuff away. Like no, go through it.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. It's like going through the motions. It's part of
Yes.
the healing process. So I just made that connection. I'm always making like these like connections in that way of like
Yeah.
when your body has to go through through the motions, and your mind is part of your body, so it has to go through those motions. We just
Yes.
have to get to that next level or where we're trying to go. We have to. So I'm sorry, I was just going off on a tangent with that, but I thought that was an interesting connection because like when you can see your body literally heal itself, your mind is totally different. Like you look at the world so different. I'm sorry, you just, you just
Too.
think,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because it shouldn't be shocking when you say the body can heal itself. There's a million examples. C-sections, cutting your finger, like when you get sick and you have a flu or cold, you know you're gonna get better, So like why are you shocked that the body can heal itself? You know, there's like a million examples.
Ab-
That
ab-
doesn't mean necessarily though that you never need another thing and that another thing can't support you.
Absolutely. Right.
It just means like there is so much power in your body that you're not accessing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like when we were in like elementary school, they used to teach us about the body and all the cells are like little powerhouses. And like as you get
Mhm.
older, like they stop talking about that so much. But in school, as in childhood, they talked about each cell was like its own little powerhouse and it broke it down and like all this magical work it was doing. And it was like, oh wow, this is great. But then when you get like as you go into adulthood, they don't talk about that no more, right?
I-
No, but the body is so important and powerful. So what I want to ask you too, what is theta healing? Because I know that's
yeah,
something that you do. What is that?
it is. It's something that I've recently learned. Because like I've been doing mind body medicine for years and I've always thought this is the fastest way to heal because essentially what you're doing is you're getting to the root cause and shifting the consciousness and the energy that's causing the problem. What
Mm-hmm.
can be faster than this? You know, and it's all about tuning into your body's wisdom to know what your body's asking for. So you're not wasting time trying a million things. You're going straight to just doing the one thing your body's asking for. So I always thought this is the fastest way to heal and that's why I do it, right? And then I found theta healing and I was like, "Oh my god, this is like even faster." It's very similar, but it's even faster. So now I like when I'm receiving a session, I pretty much only work with theta healers now. Personally, this one practitioner I work with, unless of course there's another practitioner that resonates with me, I would definitely choose that. But I just find it to be the fastest form of healing I've personally found. So essentially, what it is, it's pretty out there for anyone that like I'm going to try to first describe it in a way that someone could understand, and then I'll realize it's actually very spiritual. But you're essentially getting into a theta brainwave state, which is just a really slow brainwave state. It's the same
Okay.
brainwave state you're in the first 7 years of your life, where
Okay.
you receive the most programming, right?
All
So
right.
whenever like people try to do a hypnosis session on you or something, they're trying to get you into a really slow brainwave state so they
Okay.
can
Educate us. Let's go. Educate us on.
yeah. So they're trying to reprogram your subconscious mind. So they're trying to get you into a slow brainwave state. So that's kind of what theta healing is. You can see it similar to hypnosis. But the thing is, like, I used to try hypnosis back in the day when I was trying to just heal from depression. I was willing to try anything. They couldn't get me to relax enough to reprogram my subconscious mind. They couldn't get me into a theta brainwave state. So the reason I like theta healing is the client doesn't need to know how to get into a theta brainwave state. Only the practitioner needs to know how to get into a theta brainwave state, which is actually much easier than you would think. And then they kind of connect with this other person and can reprogram their subconscious mind. So what I like about it is you get to the bottom belief.
Mm-hmm.
Where did this show up? Was it in childhood? Was it in a past life? You go to the root. Where did it start? It's called the bottom belief. And then we reprogram your subconscious mind in like 30 seconds to a minute, and you don't have that belief anymore.
Get
So,
out of here.
yeah, I'm
Get
serious. It's so fast because it's literally just a program. Like, think about it when you were 7 years old or younger, and your parents told you something, you just believed it was true because you're in this very receptive brainwave state where you're learning things. So you just
right.
believe what your parents told you is true. It's now a program in you. So if you
Wow.
can get into that same brainwave state you were in a child, we can give you a new belief and we can remove the other one. You know, it's not actually that weird to think about it, you know?
No, it's not. But that's like, wait a minute. I'm just like, hold on. That's just gonna read like how many people are doing this?
So many people, if you go to the Theta Healing website, you'd be able to find a practitioner near you, but they actually do the sessions virtually. So you don't even have to pick
Yeah,
one near you. You can do it over the phone or Zoom with somebody.
right.
Yeah, go to the Theta Healing website if that resonates with you, if you want to try
Yeah.
it. I find the only reason people are not willing to try something like Theta Healing is because of their religious beliefs, even though
Mm,
they really try to keep religion out of it at all. Because, like, let's say you don't believe in past lives. But thing
uh,
is, when you do a theta healing session, you'll realize something may have started in a past life or passed down from your ancestors, a belief that's like not even yours. So if you're like, no, I don't believe in past lives, you won't get to the bottom belief. You can only heal like what you beliefs you took on in this life, which can be very powerful still. But what if it wasn't started in this life? What if it was a belief that started in a past life? You won't heal it if you're not willing to see that differently. So that's why I find people would not be willing to try it. Also, because it is kind of religious. It's almost like you're asking the creator, whatever you want to call it, to do the healing, and you are witnessing the healing as the practitioner. So people that don't believe in something like that, well, you don't even have to use that word. You don't have to use it at all. Like can the creator do this healing for you? You can just say, hey, can we change this belief? You know, like, we don't have to bring religion into it at all. You know, it's just, are you willing to try anything? You know, because I have found it to be the fastest form of healing. Because with mind body medicine, you once you shift the energy, you just don't have the thoughts anymore, right? So once I shift the energy of shame, I don't have judgmental thoughts about myself and other people anymore. Versus with theta healing, we can just get to the root belief on why am I carrying shame in the first place, right? Because I must think it's serving me, right? Am I thinking I'll make
Yeah.
better decisions in the future? If
Yeah.
I shame myself and I'm hard on myself, I'll make a better decision. And I have that belief. If I change that belief in like 1 minute with theta healing, it's actually faster than if I welcomed the energy using mind body medicine. Both are still powerful and I'd still do both. But I find that when you're very aware you're carrying a limiting belief, like you're so aware, like things just have to be hard. Life is hard. Okay, we should just go straight into theta healing then and just remove that belief because, you know, we can do that very quickly.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is on a whole nother level of like,
Yeah.
I was sitting over here doing all type of like, what? Like, but
Mhm.
like, and thinking about past lives.
It's interesting because when you hear it, you're like, oh, that's why. It's like there's just things that, like, I have a huge fear of bees, for example, terrified of bees. And I always knew it had something to do with resistance to hard work because bees are like the hardworking bee.
Yeah.
And so I've always tried to clear my resistance to hard work because I just know abundance is your birthright and you're not meant to push yourself, abandon yourself to receive. So that's
Mhm.
why it's just so triggering for me when people say I value hard work. I don't value hard work. And I always knew that there was a connection. And this might sound super out there for anyone that's listening to this, but I actually found out recently I had a past life where I was a bee
Get the
and
heck out of here.
my own mother killed me because I wasn't like a hardworking enough bee. Like I don't know, wasn't getting enough shit done that my own mother killed me. So I was killed for not being a hard enough worker. And
Dang.
when she said that, I was like, oh my God, that resonates. I've always known my fear of bees has something to do with hard work. And there's a reason I have an irrational fear of bees, and other people think they're cute and they're like, let's save the bees. Like, you know, there's something going on there, you know, and it really resonated with me. Every time I find out something about my past life, I'm like, oh, that makes total sense why I have this extreme fear
How do
or
you
whatever.
even know, like, I know we getting close to the end of the show, but how
Yeah,
do you,
yeah, yeah.
this is like, this is, this is, yeah, I'm really curious, but how do you even know what your past life,
Yeah,
like,
so
was?
that's the thing with theta healing, you're actually connecting with creator consciousness. Like, so wherever you believe everything is created from, you can call it whatever you want. God, source consciousness, creator, universe, like whatever you want to call it, wherever you believe everything is created from is
Mhm.
the energy we're connecting with. So those are the questions we're asking. So we're not just going based on, because some people are super intuitive. You can get intuitive readings from people, but that doesn't mean they're asking the creator. So they could just be using their own interpretation. They could be guessing, you know, like we don't know for sure that that's true. But with theta healing, you're asking the creator. So it's like you're going straight to the source, like where everything, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Akashic Records too. The Akashic Records is where everything is stored. Every life you've had, every thought you've had, everything is stored in the Akashic Records. And that's something you can access when you connect to the creator.
Yeah.
So yeah, this part I know is very out there, and like some people are not spiritual and they're like, I'm never trying that.
Can I say this real
Yeah,
quick?
yeah,
My dad, very spiritual guy. I gotta
yeah.
tell you more offline about him,
Mhm,
but um, I, so he used to always tell me like, like there's certain places or people he would interact with, and he always knew like something like was off, or there was some discomfort. It was like this weird feeling, or he would tell me about like he's had like a vision or flashback of something that he never even knew about, or
yeah, yeah.
so this, and he was like, and I'm like, okay, and he's someone like, he's saying what he's saying, like he stands on what he's saying, like it wasn't far fetched.
Mhm,
And he told me this thing. There was a type of like person from his past life that for some reason he believed he was at war with, and he was like, and when he passed away,
mhm,
I'm getting chills right now, right?
mhm,
But I was always there for him, right? But that one time I couldn't be there because I was like pregnant and like obnoxiously sick. I was like, oh,
mhm,
I sent someone else to go to the hospital with him. I was like, can you go or whatever?
mhm.
Long story short, what happened to him, my dad told me before, he was like, remember I told you, he said in his past life he was at war,
Yeah,
and he was like, he named the type of person he was at war with.
yeah.
And no lie, the person who gave me the news, like I was there the whole time in the hospital at the end. was part of that background.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I was like, she got him. But I was like, nobody understood what I meant by that. But I was like, whoa, this is kind of, and I don't know how deep that was, but I was just like, it was not a coincidence.
I know. I
Let,
know.
let me just say this. Like, you tell me, like, you feel like you've always felt this feeling that you've lived this person in your past lives and you were at war with this and that.
Yeah.
And then the doctor who gives me the news, we talked later, is from this background.
Yes. It means something, truly. Like, and when people remember their past lives, like, that's not something to just ignore. Like, I literally brought this up with my friend 2 days ago because we're getting to a really intense conversation. She's like, "No, I believe you only have one life. Your soul only has one life."
Mm,
I was like, "So then how would you explain people that remember their past life?" And
mm,
she didn't have an explanation. And I don't wanna question her beliefs or anything, I'm just saying for people out there, like, there are people that are like me, an engineer, like the person you just said, like, people that are very rational, that they still remember stuff like this. So what would you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I know people think spiritual people are, like, woo-woo and whatever, and it's like but when you hear it from someone who actually used to be very analytical, like, and they still believe this, the reason I believe it, I'm gonna tell you though, is because it feels lighter to believe that like if I make mistakes in this life, I'm screwed forever and like stuff like that and like I never get a second chance to learn. That feels heavy for me. And when I believe that like I can come back and integrate the learnings if I didn't learn it the first time, that feels light to me. So I always just choose the thing that feels lighter for me personally, right? I'm not questioning anyone's beliefs. I would just say if something feels heavy, wouldn't you want to live life in a way that feels lighter for you? Or would you rather just hold on to this belief for the rest of your life, you
wow,
know?
that was deep. That was
Yeah.
deep. I mean, I think we're gonna have to have a part two, but
I know this is getting intense,
yeah,
but I wanted to share that because I want people to be open to theta healing if it resonates with you because it's so powerful, and I don't want your religious beliefs that you believe past lives don't exist to stop you from receiving something really powerful for you, you know?
yeah, and that goes back to healing. Like, healing can is different for different people, and this is just another, I feel like, tool
Mhm.
that is helpful for the healing process. One tool may work for Joe, but not work for Angela, and that's cool. Or sometimes we need all the tools. So
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is just another people can critique every tool, even like when we talked about earlier cognitive behavioral therapy. Yes, cognitive behavioral therapy is great. It has some strengths, but there's also some limitations. So
Mhm.
every tool people are going to critique. But if it
Yeah.
works, if it gets the job done, then it
Mhm.
works, right? Like, so
Yeah.
so this is these are just different tools, holistic tools that people can utilize with just using their self, and a little support along the way to kind of help them get to that part. And I really think these are very powerful tools. So, you know,
Mhm.
so all right, now we at this point of the show.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
talked about a lot. I mean, this is some powerful stuff here. Um,
Mhm.
and that's why I told you it was very important that I speak with you first, but I think we good. Like,
Yeah.
we very this I'm gonna talk to you offline too about these past lives. But
Okay.
but now I want to get to this part of the show. It's drop a jewel with Malika,
Mhm.
right? So when you think of the term drop a jewel, what do you
Mhm.
think?
I think like a nugget, like a saying, like a quote almost that you can carry with you every
Yes.
time you're triggered, struggling, you can remind yourself of this thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something of value that
Mhm.
can shift your life, change your life. It is that saying, it is that quote. And I get that term from, like, I would say, the ancestors or those that came before me who would always drop jewels,
Yeah.
things of value to me or people around me. So, of everything we've talked about today, think about
Yeah.
your own experiences. Think about who
Mhm.
you are and who you become, where we're at today, um,
Mhm.
your experiences, this work that you're doing, this powerful work.
Mhm.
You've already dropped several jewels, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But what is the most important message that you want to give today? What is the jewel? Here is the jewel drop right now. This is the jewel drop.
God, I feel so much pressure
That's your
because I feel
pressure.
like there's so many. But I feel like the one that like people would be the most willing to receive would just be that what you resist persists, and back to like the awareness is the medicine. So meaning like if you're triggered, if you feel any emotion and if you resist it, if you try to make it wrong, if you try to say I shouldn't feel this way, if you try to downplay it, if you try to distract, do more drugs, drink more alcohol, have more sex, work harder, any of that stuff, I just want you to know that it's going to have that thing persist for you and it will need to be cleared at some point and it will come up at some point in your life. You might think, "Oh, no, I can't feel it. It's not there." It will show up some way. If it's in your physical body as an illness now, in your relationship, it's probably already showing up in like your money and how much you receive. It's probably already showing up and you just can't see it. So I would just highly recommend bringing more awareness to what you're feeling instead of less.
Yes.
My mentor always says if that's the only thing you can ever do for someone is help them bring more awareness to what they're feeling. You don't have to be a coach, a mentor, or a therapist to help someone do that. If you
That's
just
right.
ask someone like, "Hey, how are you feeling?" "Oh, really? Like, where do you feel it in your body?" Like, they don't even need to know you're trying to coach them. You're getting them to bring more awareness to what they're feeling. So
Mm-hmm.
for yourself, I'd say bring more awareness to what you're feeling. And then if you happen to be around someone you love that's also in pain, try to bring more awareness to what they're feeling. Ask them questions that will actually have them like need to go into their body to answer you. They could still choose not to tune into their body to answer you, but there's a chance they might actually tune in before they answer you and you've just helped that person heal.
Wow.
That's what I would say.
What you resist will persist.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mhm.
I love that. Ask somebody how they're doing.
Yeah.
Get in tune with the body, right? Connect, make those connections.
Yeah.
What
Awareness is the medicine. Yeah.
awareness is the medicine.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is powerful.
Mhm.
I'm gonna get like a shirt, a sweater, or something like.
I would love a shirt that says awareness is the medicine. I
I,
would love.
I think we need that. I think we need a
Yeah.
couple of little cap, a little like, you
Yeah.
know. Wow, man, Alicia, this has been a dynamic show. I am
Mhm.
so thankful to have met you, but I'm also so thankful that you're on the podcast today. This is a long time coming, but this is the timing is right. So I'm not even going to say it's. um, where if people want to get and connected with you or find out more about what you do or how you can help become their mentor, what's the process like? How can people connect with you?
Yeah, you can just find me on my website, aliciakapani.com. I do offer private sessions at the moment and also DIY programs if you just want to like do a course on your own. That's actually how I healed from depression was taking a course that had these tools. Like I actually didn't need to work with someone to heal, but
Wow.
for some people more assistance is helpful for them, right? So see if either of those resources resonate with you. Or, I am a theta healer, but you could also just go to the theta healing website and see if there's a theta healer that lives near you, resonates with you. That's an option. You can find me on Instagram at Alicia_Kapani. I share like little clips and videos and quotes. I posted awareness is a medicine like 2 weeks ago, actually. Um, that's the main places you can find me. I am on other platforms. I have a YouTube channel, Alisha Kapani. I'm on Facebook, TikTok. Yeah, you can find me there.
All right. Well, y'all know where to find her. So subscribe, share, like this show. Alisha Kapani, mind, body, mentor, theta healer. Let's go. All right. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.